Welcome to episode 35 of the Hike or Die Outdoor Adventure podcast. I am remotely joined by Craig.
Hey, Tom.
Because we're in a lockdown at the moment, as is a fair bit of our country and other places around the world. So we've got a whole bunch of content coming up for you guys to kind of keep you busy. If you can't get to the outdoors, I'll try and give you enough stuff to at least feel like you're there. All right, Craig, let's do it, man. Play some funky music. Thank you, as always, to our regular podcast sponsors for their support. Topo Maps Plus, a phone application that allows you to view topographical maps and track your location even without cell phone coverage. Go deeper into the backcountry. Rios floating polarized sunglasses with 100% UV protection for the love of water. Bluey Merino, Australian superfine merino wool base, mid and top layer garments. Where our story ends, yours is just beginning. Caribbee, one of Australia's leading backpack, travel and outdoor brands. They supply us with dry bags, waterproof day packs and expedition bags. Supporting our sponsors allows us to continue to produce this podcast, so please jump online and check out what they have to offer. This episode is also brought to you by our premium sponsor, Yukon Jack. It's the smooth 100 proof shot available in 50ml pocket-sized bottles, making it the perfect partner for your most rugged adventures. Yukon Jack, only the strong survive. We would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast today and pay our respects to their elders, past and present. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander listeners. Craig, how are you, buddy? How's things over there?
Oh, it's pretty good, Tom. Pretty lonely, mate, here in the studio.
I thought you were saying it's pretty good because I'm not there.
Yeah, once again, I'm in your chair, mate. I'm in the driver's seat here.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, well, you want to just having your little fantasies while I'm not there?
I'm on the left-hand side of the vehicle here. It's nice, mate. Yeah. It's good over this side.
Very good. Yeah, no, it's not a bad spot I've got over there, to be honest.
Yeah, but it is lonely. It is lonely without you, mate. So
yeah, it's a different dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even just doing the intro, then I thought, it's just different, not actually kind of seeing you and being able to have a laugh and everything.
Yeah, I reckon we'll have to rig up some video or something so at least I can see you. But
Yeah, you see the stupid faces I pull when I'm looking at all these news stories and the secret hand signals I'm giving you throughout.
You reckon? Yeah. I think it is going to be funny when you're talking about stuff that I can't see on the screen. You're right.
Yeah, I just have to get better at describing.
Okay. We'll make it work.
Just treat you like a listener, basically.
Okay.
Which is like, a king.
A king listener.
What was I going to say? Last time we did a lockdown podcast, I was in my son's bedroom under his bunk bed, but I've upgraded to my own office for this one.
All right.
So it's I'm living the high life. Got my luxuries around me, and you might even get an audible visit from some furry friends of mine. Let's just leave it at that. Now, the thing about that is if they don't make any noise throughout the whole entire podcast, it's going to be absolutely weird because...
You've set yourself up there, mate.
I have set myself up. But
you're going to have to start making furry noises at the end of this podcast.
Oh, wow. I just got a massive email came in, or rather the email sound was loud. I'm just going to quit my email program. See, that's what never happens at your place.
Luckily, I don't think that came through the mic. So
no, it nearly blew my ears off. That's all right. Mate, what have you been up to? Tell me, what have you been up to?
Well, as you said, mate, we're in lockdown. I'm stuck at home. Actually, I still get to go to work during the day, but yeah, we've been hanging out with the family a whole lot, just doing a bit of home time, I'm just trying to reduce a bit of stress at the moment, mate. I'm not letting things get to me. I'm having a bit of a, quiet sort of peaceful time. I'm just getting to know the kids again, spending some more time with them. It's been fantastic, actually.
Yeah, it's the way to go, mate. I mean, it's easy for some people to say. I mean, we both continue on with work regardless of lockdown. It doesn't affect me, but it does affect me as far as all of a sudden I'm homeschool mega dad and everything's going crazy here. But well, I guess what I'm saying is I still generate an income and I don't have those extra stresses. But definitely, I think it's important to explore some other avenues, some other stuff. I've been getting into my spoon carving, mate.
Oh, right.
You should see me go.
Really?
I just finished my second one.
So that's like a whittling skill, right? So
yeah, that's right. I've got proper, Mora knife,
yes.
Mora kniv.
Yep.
Well, I've got 2 Mora carving knives.
Yeah, okay.
And particularly small blades on them.
Little tiny blades on the tip, and one of them was curved. Is it for using? For spoon?
I've got a curved one, and then the one that's almost like a triangle, elongated triangle shape.
So I can just imagine you, mate, sitting under a tree.
I do. I literally sit out the back there.
Chickens on your shoulder.
Oh, in the vicinity, yeah, around out of the fire. That's something I've been doing a lot of, is cooking out the back there for no reason at all.
Oh, yeah.
I sat out the back. So I don't live in the suburbs, just for the listeners. I might have mentioned that before. And I sat out the back on Saturday night, and because the lockdown had kicked in, the streets were so quiet, and I had a fire down the back and I cooked dinner for the whole family. Then they came inside because it started to get pretty cold, because we're still in winter here in Australia. And I sat out there from 6 p.m. till 10 p.m. by myself.
Really?
Just looking at the fire.
Nice.
And just looking up at the stars. And that was it. I did nothing except that, and cool. Have some peace.
Oh, that's great, mate. Good to hear.
Yeah, it's good. I've been doing lots of weird stuff, mate. Let me continue.
All right, tell us. But I'd love to get a go on that whittling, the curved spoon.
Oh man, it's so much fun.
Blade.
We'll put it this way. I'm not taking my. I will not be taking my spork any longer. On any trips. Yeah, it's replacing that.
Oh wow,
hands down. And you know what? It's not even that heavy. I use mango wood, because I've got a mango tree in the backyard.
Okay.
And so if I prune a branch off, I've cut it into a spoon.
All right.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, mate, that's next level.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm getting pretty hillbilly back here.
Yeah.
So I made a leather pouch for my coffee. I'm not sure if I mentioned that to you or not.
No.
Yeah, so getting into the leather work. Shout out to Geordie from. You can find him at Hide and Seeker on Instagram. The reason I want to give him a shout out is he's a listener of ours, and he's been in contact with us a few times. A hell of a nice bloke. But I actually sent him a message and said, can I ask you some questions about leather work? And so he let me give him a call, and we must have talked for ages, and he imparted some of his knowledge and expertise, because he does it full time, right? That's his full-time job.
Yep.
And it makes fantastically beautiful leather products. But yeah, so thanks, mate. I really appreciate that. It's just, this community is just amazing, and it just keeps amazing me when people are so willing to give up their time to kind of help other people out. It's awesome.
So what sort of pouch is it for your coffee?
Oh, it's just like a drawstring leather pouch, basically.
Right.
And the first spoon that I carved is more like a scoop, a little scoop, which is basically
for a coffee, yeah, right.
Yeah, good size for that. So I'll just keep that in that bag, and it looks pretty cool. I feel like a Viking or something.
Yeah,
drinking my coffee.
Yeah, very good.
And I've done other weird things too, like I started messing around with writing some poetry and stuff like that. I told you, man, it's all strange things going on over here.
Wow.
Yeah, I finished my first poem ever since, I guess, high school. And I really enjoyed the whole process. And then I started trying to write a second one, but it turned into a kind of a short story. No surprises that they're both about kind of, the outdoors.
Right.
Yeah.
So are we getting an exclusive tonight or what?
No, not tonight. I don't think. It's a bit. It's still
too soon.
Yeah, very bit too soon. Bit shy, But I was thinking about maybe putting them up on the website eventually.
Okay, cool.
I don't know. Yeah, they're worth it. Worth the read anyway. My kids like them, so they're a really good audience for anything. But
yeah. Oh, that's good.
Hey, I'm going to jump into the quiz, mate.
All right. Yeah, put it out there.
Yep. Let's get the quiz question out there.
What do we got?
I actually don't think you will know the answer to this. When I started the quiz, I kind of said that I would endeavour to educate the rest of the world about Australia, just for a bit of fun. But also the amount of times that I've learnt stuff from this is been really good as well.
Right, yep.
So the question is, how much larger is the USA than Australia? So the physical size of the country. It's surprising, very surprising, I think. And that's the other thing too. I think a lot of our US listeners, g'day guys, thanks for listening. And the rest of the world, I don't think they can comprehend the physical size of Australia. So that's why it's such a good question.
That is a good question. I think that'll be interesting. So we will find out at the end, right?
So yeah, it's basically how much larger is the USA than Australia. Yeah, and you will find out at the end if I choose to give you the answer.
Okay.
I still can't believe that was one of our listeners' favourite moments. Was when I asked the quiz question and then just closed out and didn't give the answer. That's great. Those good times.
Let's not do that again.
No, I'll try not to do that again. Hey, the Steamers video came out between our last podcast.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, so if you cast your mind back, listeners, to when we did the podcast in the cave, I think it was called From the Back Cave. This was the trip. I did a little bit of filming on that trip and I just knocked it together. And I thought it came up all right. It's just a short video, but it'll just give you an insight into where we were. And there is actual footage of the cave that we were recording from, which is pretty cool. So you can kind of put it all in perspective. So I thought I'd mention that because it's not often that I've just been so busy in the last 12 months. It's not often that I've been dropping anything on YouTube, so it's pretty exciting to be able to drop something else. The good news is I've got another two videos.
Wow.
Close on the heels of that one.
Oh, that's exciting. I liked watching it, mate. It was good seeing those.
Yes.
Sort of the memories came back straight away.
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? Yeah. And some of your fantastic drone footage at the end really summed it up. I just love how that, just kind of wrapped it up nicely. Showed the vastness, vastness of where we were, which, a lot of the time you're deep in the trees, so you don't really get that appreciation until that drone goes up and you see, oh, wow, okay.
That was special.
Pretty epic. Hey, I was sitting on the couch the other night and I was flicking through Twitter, specifically looking for something that I wanted to see. I just saw on TV, so I was scrolling through Twitter, looking through it. And then I noticed this. This tweet that we'd been mentioned in, and I really only use Twitter to, just let people know that we've dropped a new episode or or a video or whatever. But someone had tagged us in. They do a how would you say it? They do like a monthly. What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to read things, talk, scroll, and open a website all at the same time. The website's called hikingin.maine.blog. Maine is MAINE, the location.
Oh, yep.
And the article's called 5 Best Hiking Out and Outdoor Podcast Episodes of April 2020. So that's how far back we were tagged. And we pop up. Yeah, we pop up in the top 5 for specifically though, just for April 2020. So,
yeah,
let's not get too excited. But I just wanted to say, to the authors of this website, thanks so much. I did actually tweet them back and say, this is fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I'm not sure if it's in any particular order, but we come in at number 3, nice and midway. And here's what's, would it be ironic or would it be coincidental? It was the episode that we were in lockdown.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So yeah, he says broadcast from lockdown. And he actually mentions that I'm underneath a bunk bed.
Yeah. Because that must be a year ago, right? When did you say?
April 2020.
Fit, yeah, longer than a year ago when we had our last serious lockdown around here.
Yeah, that was the big one. That was the legit one. This one for us at the moment is shorter, at least for the time being.
We hope.
Yeah. And he very kindly mentions the show notes. That's good. That's good. Thank you. Because that's a good segue for me. Yeah. He says this is a multimedia presentation from Down Under. Best enjoyed by listening to the podcast while following along on the show notes.
Yep.
Which, I tell you what, you will need the show notes for this mega episode because I have so many references. And I mean, I touched on it earlier, but the idea of this episode is to try and share as much cool media with you guys that I've been watching over the past month or so. And there's a few older things too that resurfaced and whatnot. But yeah, really, I just wanted to impart all of that on you. So you will need the show notes and you'll need to jump on HikeordieTV.com, go to the podcast page and then select the episode. And you'll be able to, follow along, just like they said. So thank you very much, Hiking in Maine. Really appreciate the shout out. Sorry it's taken a year for me to say thanks.
Yeah, ditto that. That sounds good.
Yeah, good stuff. Moving right along, I've got to mention in another, this is yet another Twitter find. Way back, months ago, I was on Facebook in a particular hiking group, and someone said, I'm really worried about, I've got to do the overland track in Tasmania. It's a last minute thing. I've been given the opportunity to do it because someone else pulled out of the group. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, wow, that's pretty full on. If you want any advice, just hit me up. So we ended up talking on to Heather. We ended up talking in Messenger, and then I said, you know what, if you want to do a video call, just let's hook that up because we can go through so many things, and I'll just download everything I've learnt from the track. And so we ended up doing that. Yeah, we spent probably an hour on a video call, and I just went through everything I could think of. Yeah. So she's written a really really cool article. Heather is an author by trade, So she's got a couple of books already. So it's really cool because she can obviously write a great article as well. But she gets to a particular point in the article. I'm now trying to, struggling to find it. But it's funny because she mentions me and, giving her a bit of advice in particular on the water purification. So she was asking me in the call, like, what, do I need to? Like, surely the water's nice and clean down there. And I said, look, 100% it is, but I think I might have told her that old story of ours where the water, looks great, but that time that you went to get some water for us and you walked about 10 meters upstream from our camp and there was a rotting turtle in the creek. Yeah. Do you remember that? I think I might have told her that, but at some point I must have mentioned all of the possums around as well, because do you remember at a couple of the huts in particular, there was a lot of possums running around on the roof and everything. So she credits me. Thank you. Very much appreciate it, Heather. But I'm the guy who told her that the birds and the possums poo a lot all over the place, and it's probably collecting in the rainwater tanks from the roof and everything. So that's my claim to fame.
You do know your bird poo, mate. There's
I
no
do
doubt
know
about
lots of different poo, unfortunately. But yeah, regardless, thanks for the mention. If you're listening to us because you saw that link in her article,
yeah, right.
Well, that'd be pretty funny. I'd like to hear from you. But yeah, it's a great article, and what I like about it is it's not from like she's a fairly experienced adventurer, don't get me wrong, but first time on the overland track and first time ever doing sort of like a multi-day hike like that. She usually travels around the world by motorcycle and lives off the back of the motorcycle. Right. So this is quite different for her. So it was really interesting. I actually read it and thought, that's a really interesting perspective from someone who's never done that before. So I definitely recommend giving it a read if it's a hike that you're considering doing. And if you want to talk about poo, just hit me up. I'll do a whole 1 hour video call on animal scat.
I'm surprised the wombats didn't get, they
didn't get mentioned because they're not often climbing up on the roofs, pooing into the rainwater tanks.
Yeah, right.
But I guess they are into the creeks.
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, great. That's my claim. I'm just going to copy and pasting that onto my LinkedIn profile now that I'm an expert in poo.
Sorry, I might have missed it if you said it. Is that going to be on the show notes availul, that what she wrote?
I'll put a link to that.
Oh,
I'll put a link to the article online. For sure.
Oh, nice.
Yep, absolutely, mate. This one's a nice story. And I love a good pun. Listen to this title of this article.
Okay.
A perfect farewell.
Perfect.
A perfect farewell.
Right.
Touching photos show a man taking his dying pet Labradoodle up his favourite mountain on one last walk with the aid of a wheelbarrow. Oh. Yeah, this guy's had a little dog called Monty. And Monty used to go hiking with him everywhere and always used to get people's attention, and they'd stop and he'd put a smile on everyone's face. And people would stop and pat him, and you know what animals are like. Yeah. They just kind of put you in a good mood. You might be grinding up a tough mountain, but if I saw someone cruise past with a friendly little dog, I'd definitely stop and take a minute. And it's not something that we do in Australia for, due to national park restrictions, but it's definitely much more frequently done in the US where these guys are from. Mm-hmm. Anyway, little Monty got leukemia, I believe. They were very specific about that. And he did kind of fight it off for a little while, but then it came back. And when he realized that Monty was too weak to kind of do any sort of walking or hiking, but still in fantastic spirits, he put him in a wheelbarrow and walked him all the way up to the top of this mountain where they used to go all the time together. And yeah, he said that even on that last walk, strangers were offering to, like when they asked about the dog, and then they realized, how significant it was. Strangers were offering to push the wheelbarrow for a while for him. How cool is that?
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, this is epic. Anyway, so little Monty got to have one last jaunt up his favorite mountain. And he said, secretly he thinks that Monty was just loving it because he got way more attention, and he just got to cruise along in the wheelbarrow. He's probably thinking, oh, why don't you take me up in the wheelbarrow all those other times?
Yeah, that would have been good. Actually, I wish we had a wheelbarrow on that last day of the overland when you could have pushed me home, mate.
I could have pushed you, yeah, mate. It got close to that,
It nearly did, yes.
Yeah, jeez.
Oh, that's good.
The old knee.
Yeah, that's right.
It did. Did it come good after that?
Yeah.
I don't ever remember you.
No, it wasn't too
complaining
bad.
Again.
It wasn't too bad. It was.
I mean, you sure complained at the time, but don't ever remember after that. Oh, he's given up. He didn't get any sympathy, so he's just given up.
Yeah.
You were like Monty, like just basically grabbing complete strangers, saying, "Hey, how you going? My name's Craig. I've got a sore knee."
Yeah, that's right. I was too.
Yeah.
Because, they were wondering why the hell I was going so slowly. Yeah. You'd taken off. You'd left me behind.
I was just cruising. I thought, he must want a little bit of quiet time on his last day. And then later on when you caught up, you said, oh, no, it's real bad. I was like, oh, geez, I feel a bit bad now. Yeah. It's doing the old, I was giving you the old slinky stop, mate.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. I've been thinking about that a lot. That was an interesting article because it never had occurred to me that the slinky stop is a like other people actually think about that when it just happens quite naturally. But there is an etiquette or a psychology to it, isn't there? It was quite.
Yeah, I think in particular, if you're thinking about it for the wrong reasons, that's what kind of concerned me. Like, I mean,
if you're trying to put some pressure on the people.
Yeah, I think about it now for the right reasons. So I think, okay.
Yeah.
If, well, first of all, I just wouldn't even hike at a pace where I leave people anymore, especially people that aren't as fit as me.
If you didn't listen to the last episode, we're talking about a moment in time where a slower hiker might catch you and you should pause and give them time to have a rest before you take off again, or it can be seen to be just pushing them a little bit too hard. And is that the main gist of that?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And almost, but it was just the way it was written was almost like, I don't know, the tone was a bit odd. I explained it better. Go back and have a listen to the last episode 34. But it's basically that. If you hike ahead and someone can't keep up, and then you stop and rest and wait for them to catch up, and then as soon as they catch up, you take off again. They don't actually get a rest.
No.
I mean, I've experienced that with you in the past, and probably vice versa. But our first hike in particular, I remember.
Right.
I would just catch up to you and you'd go, oh, okay, cool, good, let's go. And oh my God, I can't, I need 15 minutes rest before I can move.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting, but from an etiquette perspective, as you mentioned, I think you need to kind of question why you were there and why you've chosen those people to be with if you don't want to hike with them.
Yeah. Anyway, I did catch you. I did catch up to you by the time we got to the barge, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
I did.
They hardly had to wait. No, you caught up. No, we did the whole last bit together.
No, it was good. No, but it was a moment. It had a moment.
Yeah, that was
looking for that.
Watching, funny because watching back on your footage, obviously, Craig and I often film adventures together, and we correlate our footage later, and then I'll edit that up, to tell the story. And in this case, whenever we're separated, sometimes we'll film things without the other person there. You don't get to see those things until I sit down there and collate the footage and go through clip by clip and see, okay, what is the story? Where are we at? Where was that taken? Because I have to put it in a chronological order. So yeah, it was not until I looked back on your footage, and on that particular morning, you were walking along explaining your injury, and
I tried to explain it, didn't I? I think I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you did. And then I remember watching that footage going, oh wow, he was not just taking it easy. He was actually in tears, crying.
Not exactly.
Into the camera.
Yeah.
So I'll never put that footage out. As for the footage of you doing your nudie swim, well, that's different.
Oh, that was a couple of days earlier, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
It was funny how
it was a lifetime ago.
One hike can just have ups and downs.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. No, that was pretty awesome.
Okay. I am extremely excited when young people are getting into hiking in the outdoors, okay?
Yep.
I love getting my own kids into it, and I particularly love seeing stories about other younger people getting into it. A particular young girl going through high school in Australia had to let me just get the details up in front of me. So yeah, she's a teenager from the Gold Coast, not too far from us, and she had to set herself a project about something that she might like to do in the future. So she decided to combine her love of the outdoors and business. And in order to put together this website where she kind of does a hike and reviews it and basically talks about the difficulty, the duration, the distance, basically, these a website where you can find out everything about a hike before you go there. In order to do that, she went on 50 hikes. She's 15 and she knocked over 50 hikes.
That's cool.
That's more hikes than I've ever done.
Yeah.
So she's gone and knocked them all out. All through, a lot of the state, not just in her area. I thought, how cool is that? Because what people are not going to think of instantly is, oh, well, she did 50 hikes. That's pretty cool. But there's a lot of learning in hiking. I mean, we don't just hike because it's great fun. Like, there's a lot of learning in that, and I think that you got a lot of time to think as well. I just think the lessons that she would have picked up in doing that would be just as good as the product that she produced. It's just great. It's just great to see someone that young saying, "Hey, I'm going to get out there and do 50 hikes to kick off this website myself."
Yeah, and as you say, would have been a lot of development in that. That would have been great.
Yeah, exactly. She would have learned a lot. And I think another thing is I find this a lot when I'm filming, but when you're doing something like she was, you'd be paying more attention than if you just said, "Hey, I'm going on a hike on the weekend." If I said to you, "Yeah, okay, great. When you go on the hike, make sure you think about these things so that you can tell me all about it when you get back," you'd be paying a lot more attention. So yeah, good on her. I was very impressed. Well done.
Maybe we should go on some more hikes, Tom. That sounds good, actually.
We should, yeah. It sounds like a good idea. I need to stop all this spoon carving and writing and go out and do some hiking.
Yeah, you've gone soft, man.
Yeah, I've changed. It's a fact.
No, that's good on it. That's good.
Sitting here in my ivory tower.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a good. How would you put this? I like the. I don't even know the word I'm looking for. Let me give you the title. Cleaning up the Outback is a bonus as this couple lives the Aussie road trip dream. This couple started traveling around after the guy out of the couple, Bo, he broke his back. He was a carpenter and he broke his back. And I think at that point he decided that, life is short. Let's get out and see the country and do a big road trip. So that he did his rehab for a few months, and then they hit the road and took they got something like I think it's a big Land Cruiser, an older one. Anyway, they head out on the road and they're visiting all these places right out in the desert of Australia, and obviously a lot of the tourist spots as well. But one thing he says, the amount of rubbish out there was quite eye-opening, was a quote from him. He was just kind of overwhelmed, and him and his partner were, I guess, disappointed in what they saw out there. So they just started picking it up and putting it in their trailer as they went.
That's
and
cool.
it is really cool, and it kind of turned into their thing. So they'll clean up at campsites, they'll clean up at tourist attractions, lookouts, whatever. They'll just pick stuff up everywhere, and then they'll take it to the next town, wherever they're going, and they'll dispose of it properly. So they'll go to the proper facility and get rid of it. I saw it as a fantastic story because
how'd you find out about this story? Or is it online?
Oh, it's just it's just on ABC news story. Always like to keep my.
Okay.
They do a lot of environmental stuff, a lot of stuff, rural stories as well, and this one just piqued my attention because of they're going out of their way. Like there's so many other people. Put it this way, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but there's so many other people that are doing exactly the same thing as this couple, mid-20s, cruising around, jumping on Instagram and just making up all of this content, some of it fake, that sort of thing, like this perfect world sort of stuff to just get attention and just to get attention, to get sponsors and all that sort of stuff. But these guys have gone in and got their hands dirty.
Yeah, no, that should be shared. That's a great story, mate.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Guess how many kilograms of rubbish they've collected already?
What do you mean? So on this trip, they're still out there doing it, aren't
they? They're still out there. Yeah, no, they're going. They've collected 60,000 kilograms.
Right.
Of rubbish.
60 ton. So
60,000 kilograms.
Obviously, so they got a big trailer on the back. They just take them to the dump.
No, they just what should I convert that to? Pounds? Yeah, I'll do it to pounds just for our US. Oh wow, that's a lot of pounds. That's 132,277 pounds.
That's amazing.
Everything sounds more in the US. They just, you're just trying to bump it up.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So they've got a spare trailer on that. They
got a trailer, and I think it fits 4, of your typical bins.
Okay, and they fill them up.
And so as they're cruising along, they just tie stuff on where they can.
Take it to a dump.
Then take it to the tip on their way through, and then do it again.
Great work.
Through the next, it's crazy. They said we got 800 kilos just between 2 points.
Yeah.
Lots of car parts because people's cars break down. They just leave the stuff instead of like lots of mufflers. They said
Right.
instead of you rip your muffler off, over a pothole or something. Instead of just leaving it, instead of putting it in their car, they just leave it. There was some funny stuff though. They kind of listed all of the interesting things, weird and wonderful and grim.
Mm-hmm.
They've this is a quote from them, from sex toys in inverted commas, lots of them.
Really?
Yeah. What's going on out there? Yeah, you plan a trip out there? I take it after hearing that.
Sounds good.
Sounds like the place to be.
I'm definitely missing out on something. Not sure.
Yeah, I don't know what sort
it
of
is.
hiking they're doing out there. I don't know, but I think it's cool. And what they're looking to do at this point is get some more volunteers or even employees, and just sort of spend 3 hours a day cruising through and doing that, but at the same time being able to travel. So that'd be a pretty cool way to travel, wouldn't it? Imagine cruising through those areas and at the same time you're actively, cleaning it up as you go. Sounds pretty good to me.
Awesome.
I could get all the kids out there with those long sticks with spikes on them and just go nuts, kids. Get all of the chip packets.
Yeah. No, they'd love it. That'd be rewarding. I think they'd love it.
Yeah, sure. No, they absolutely would. Every place we ever go, inevitably the kids are picking up bottle caps or bits of rubbish and just throwing them in our backpack to take out of wherever we are. Yeah. So they're already in a good habit.
Yeah, we do that too.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, you got to do it like other people certainly don't do it, do they?
No.
I might jump over to just a couple of emails that we've had before I jump into the full-on media stuff. Oliver, this is kind of touching on that earlier subject about young people getting into good stuff. Oliver, hang on a second. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Computer problems. He's 13. We've spoken about him before. And he wrote back to me for 2 reasons. He said, you slightly misquoted me on the shout out. I said on the podcast that he was just about to enter his 3rd marathon, but I misread that. He was about to start his 1st marathon of 3 before he did an ultra. So yeah, apologies for that. But yeah, just to put it straight. So,
okay.
But what the other awesome thing that he did was he actually went on to do a Department of Fire and Emergency Services course.
Right.
He sent me some photos from it. It was so cool. He, there was a photo of them, like a bunch of him and his friends with fire extinguishers and stuff, putting out fires, and I just saw what a fantastic initiative there for young people to kind of get out, and he said, it's a pretty cool sort of thing to consider as a, what would you say, as a profession. And I thought, yeah, that would be, like, again, it's another one of those things where just getting kids out into the outdoors and getting them out there that early, and just kind of appreciating the dangers of nature and how to deal with it.
Yeah.
How to responsibly kind of conduct yourself. I mean, if you're going ahead, and there was a photo of the whole group, and there was a ton of them. There must have been 50, maybe more in this group. And once you go to a course like that and understand, the dangers of fire and how hard it is to kind of deal with it, and it's putting the lives at risk of firefighters and emergency services. I think once you understand those things, you're going to be a lot better at conducting yourself. And, when you're around other friends that age and you're lighting fires and you're going camping and stuff, I just think you're going to have a better understanding, and you're just going to be more conscious of what it is you're doing. Things like leaving no trace, things like making sure that a fire is completely put out before you leave the campsite. I mean, teaching people young, that's just the way to do it.
Yeah, fire course would be very valuable, no doubt.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind knowing a bit more about that myself, to be honest.
Yeah. One of my mates is just studying to be a firefighter, and I guess like our conversation went to the fact that, you play around with fire and camping and all that, but you don't really understand it the way that they do. And there's a lot more to it than just starting a fire and hoping
it's brutal.
Oh yeah.
How
it moves and carries on.
A friend of mine was a rural firefighter up around Diagula, Mount Mee.
Yep, sure.
He lived up there, and he was part of I think it's the voluntary crew. And he said, it's some of the stuff that went up there through some of the summers, how dangerously close some of the things got to people's houses, and they were able to come in and backburn, and the wind would turn on them in a second, in a split second. Everything would be going all peachy, and they've got everything under control, and then literally the wind swings around and everyone's in danger, and it's pretty freaky.
For sure. No, that's cool.
It's pretty close calls. I don't think I'm ready for that, to be honest. we had our bushfire experience, and I'm done with it now. Yeah.
I tell you, I really thought about similarly in Australia we've got like the SES, which is State Emergency Services, and I think that those teams have great skills, and if you want to sort of join a team that teaches you a lot of stuff that's very useful, and you can take it with you and teach your kids all this awesome stuff, how to handle chainsaws and how to work with fire, but also water, because they do a lot of flooding sort of rescues and
well, that's true as well. These guys were doing some. There's a photo around this one of those big boats that they take out, so I'm assuming they did a bit of water
rescue and stuff.
That sort of stuff.
Yeah, some of these volunteer groups.
I think you're right, because they also do a heck of a lot of, first aid and first responder type of stuff, which is highly useful in absolutely any aspect of your life.
That's right.
Unfortunately, those things can come around pretty quickly in daily life. Yeah. I love it when you touched on it earlier. You said that I can't remember what the topic was, but you said, I've been thinking. You were talking about the slinky stop.
Yep.
Saying you've been kind of thinking about that since I mentioned it, and I think that it's really cool when something does resonate with a listener, even if it's only one or a couple of people, because I mean that's the whole purpose, right? We're trying to voice certain ideas and theories and philosophies, perhaps not that deep, but things that, just ideas that people can assess and then think differently the next time they move in those spaces. So Jodes wrote to us. He's a long-time listener. I'm sure you've heard his name before.
Yeah.
He's a wildlife photographer, does a lot of stuff in the UK.
Yeah, his stuff's great.
Yeah, his stuff's absolutely beautiful. And when we spoke about the David Yarrow, with I think it was with the Arctic foxes, that was a story. I'll just touch on it briefly. Long story short, David Yarrow is a world-renowned wildlife photographer, but recently he was tied up in this scandal where they were coaxing these Arctic foxes closer to get photos of them. Now, as I said in the other podcast, you can go back and listen to the last episode. He can't take the blame for all of the actions of the Arctic fox, because probably 100 people before him also interfered with the level of fear that Arctic fox should have had. But yeah, he was most definitely caught coaxing the animal in with artificial, human things. In this case, it was the cellophane off a cigarette packet. Mm-hmm. And consequently, that only about a week later, they ended up having to euthanize those couple of foxes that he photographed, because I think it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. They were just enticed closer and closer, and thought, "Oh wow, humans are so interesting," and then they did the wrong thing and
turned into pests in some ways. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. They've just been so. Anyway, Jodes, said, "Oh, thanks for really pleased that you're shining a light on that type of a topic, because it's all too easy to see people like that and their photography through some of the most world-renowned magazines that you've ever seen." And, I think in David Yarrow's world, fine art, wildlife photography, that's what Jodes said.
Yeah.
But to show the ethics behind that, and he said it actually made him think about his own approach to wildlife photography and making sure that he keeps it wild and natural and doesn't ever kind of move into a territory where he's enticed by that perfect shot over authenticity. So, a really nice thought. And again, to hear that resonate with somebody out there listening, even if it just, I'm not suggesting for a second that Jodes has ever thought about or done anything like that. I think he's probably too hard on himself. From what I've seen, he conducts himself absolutely perfectly. But even just to have that thought and think, you know what, I'm just going to keep doing it the way I'm doing it, because that's authentic and it's real, and I don't need to kind of cross that line. I think that's nice. I will put a link to his website in, because I checked it out properly after that email. jodyharrison.com, JODYHARRISON.com. As I said, I'll put the link in the show notes. Some beautiful UK animals, things like foxes that are, in fact, an introduced species here in Australia from the UK. In their natural habitat, they're actually how would you say, like almost like a prettier animal. Their coats are better. They look healthier. They're not so scrawny as ours. I think the foxes over here kind of do it pretty tough in the Australian wilderness. But
sure.
So there's things like that. Deer, absolutely beautiful photography. So that's worth checking out. Good on you, Jodes. Thanks for letting us know that you enjoyed that. Yukon Jack is our premium sponsor for this episode, and recently Craig and I had the opportunity to sample their full range of 100 proof shot flavours, including the original flavour, but also their new ones: apple, honey, fire, which has a bold cinnamon kick, and also snakebite with a tart bite of lime. They also refer to that as the shot that bites back. Craig, I think we both agree on how smooth they go down. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, because they're 100 proof, how much of a punch they pack.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've got a tough question for you now.
Yeah.
If you can only take 2 of your favourite Yukon Jack flavours with you on your next hike, what would they be?
Oh, that's a tough question.
I said it would be.
I'd take fire and honey flavours.
Honey was actually one of my favourites too, but I'd choose snakebite to go with that.
Oh, nice.
Yukon Jack. It sounds tough, but it tastes smooth. All right, mate, are you ready for it?
Yeah.
You ready for it? I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
I hope people are still awake.
Still listening. You're about to tell us what you've been digging your teeth into.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. Tom's magical mystery media mashup is about to begin in all its glory. Probably one of the biggest ever, and that's for a few reasons. I have been going through a little bit of I don't know, how would you say it? Sometimes you just crave knowledge, and you just go on these little bursts of trying to find things. Also, coincidentally, there's been a couple of our go-to sort of YouTube channels that we already have mentioned before have brought out a couple of cool films, and I'll go on into that in more detail. But first up, we're going to talk books. It's been a while since I've completed a book, partly because I was reading 3 at the same time, which is no problem for me to do that, but then it's basically dragging out all 3 books. It takes me a while to get closure on anything. It just depends what mood I'm in. So the first one I completed was Australia Day by Stan Grant.
All right, yep.
And I did mention that to you, I think, last time we went out camping.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Hiking, rather. Yeah, it's a fantastic book, and that was recommended to us in episode 28 by Dwayne Bannon Harrison. I said specifically to him, I knew he was a big reader like myself, and I said, give me 5 books that I have to read. One of those books was Australia Day by Stan Grant. Absolutely fantastic perspective from a guy who is half Irish and half Indigenous Australian, exactly like Dwayne himself. So I think that perhaps resonated with him. And just the way that he has one foot in both parts of both cultures and both parts of oops, I just bumped my laptop. Both parts of Australia is really fascinating to get. And I mean, he's just he articulates things really well. Anyway, for those of you who don't know who he is in Australia, he's kind of like a foreign correspondent, or rather, that's what he did for a long time. And he's just very good at articulating things and how would you say it? Being an ethical journalist and getting good information across to the people. And he's not afraid to ask pretty crazy questions as well. I was watching him on a completely unrelated TV show recently, and boy, he asked some tough questions to people. So
yeah, I've always liked listening to him talk. Actually,
he's not hard to listen to. That's for sure. But he writes exactly like he speaks. So it was a really easy read, and
he's very experienced, eh?
He is, and that's the thing. You just hit on a key point there, Craig. So his experience as a foreign correspondent, traveling all to some of the most war-torn countries in the world and everything in between, gives him such a unique perspective on other cultures that he then can kind of take a step back and look at our own culture and our own kind of integration. So I got a lot out of it. I got a lot of positive out of it. I got a lot of hope out of it, and it was a really good read. I'd recommend that to anybody who's interested in learning a little bit about, because he does delve into history, his own family history, and then Australian history in general. He talks about a lot of things that I didn't really fully understand or know anything about, to be honest. And if you want to know a bit about Indigenous Australian history, I'd say that's a very nice balanced way to kick off and build a grounding. So I give that one a very high score.
Oh, good. I'd like to check that one out for sure.
Yep, I absolutely think I just lent it to my my neighbour
Good one.
because she likes stand ground as well, and she's got Indigenous heritage. So I said, "Hey, I got something you might be interested in." She goes, "Oh yeah, bring it over,"
You'll be popular.
which was just before lockdown, so perfect timing. It was literally about 6 or 7 days ago. I popped over and gave her the book, and then it was 3 days after that we went into lockdown. So she's sorted. I'm looking after the neighbour as well.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is this, Craig. You'll know this one straight away. But this was another one in Dwayne's list, "The Power of Now" by Eckhart Tolle.
Yep, sure.
It is. I don't know. A lot of listeners are thinking, "What the heck?" Because the title, I think, is one of its downfalls. I think that it sounds like this hideous self-help book, but I don't think it could be further from that. If it tried, it's way more in line with kind of that Buddhist approach of appreciating the current moment that you are in, rather than worrying about things that happen in the past or things that might happen in the future. So it's basically about severing ties with that silly little voice that constantly is talking in your head. The same one that tells you you're doing great is the one the next day that's going to tell you that you're a failure and why you're wasting your time. Like, it's separating that voice from the actual you. And without getting too crazy, this is a hiking podcast, I understand that. I do think there is a correlation between the type of people that spend time in the wilderness and the people that would understand this concept. Because if you think about it this way, when we do spend time in the wilderness, when we are climbing a mountain, when we are hiking through a rainforest, when we're crossing a creek crossing, or whatever we're doing, a large percentage of the time we spend outdoors, we are in that exact moment. It's difficult to, for argument's sake, Craig, you and I climbing Mount Ossa, getting smashed in the face by sleet and it's freezing cold.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I challenge you to say that, 90% of the time I was walking up there, I was thinking about something else. Oh no, I was thinking about this cool music I listened to. I was thinking about the thing I need to get fixed on my car when I get back. Like, you're just not capable of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because nothing will, except nature, can kind of rip that away from you and force you into reality, especially when things are not going well. When it is, when there is that slight danger, and you've got to basically tune all your senses into what you're doing now, not think about, later on I'm going to cook this horrible freeze-dried meal. I can't wait. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's times where I think I can't wait to get to camp and get a coffee on or something like that.
Mm.
But yeah, there's something in it. I think it does carry over, and
yeah, it's a good opportunity when you're out in the wild to exercise that theory and push away some of those internal thoughts that can cloud your judgment at times. And I've got that. You gave me that book, Tom, and we've had this
Christmas present.
We've had this chat about how I've had a couple of false starts with it, and I'm going to use this lockdown to get back into that book. I'm going to finish that. Absolutely.
Look, I'll admit it's almost not the kind of book that, and I mean, Dwayne was very honest about this as well. He said it's not, for example, I can give you that Australia Day book and you can sit down and you can read it from front to back as quickly as or as slowly as you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's a typical book. When you read this book by Eckhart Tolle, it's not that simple. It's not. It doesn't flow like that. Sometimes you'll read a whole chapter and you'll be flying through going, yeah, I understand that concept. Great. Understand that concept. Great. And then other times you'll read one page and say, okay, I'm putting this down because I can't get past this page.
Well, I couldn't get past a point. I actually felt like I couldn't read any more until I knew a little bit more about meditation or a little bit more about whatever it was in the book. So I kind of felt I wasn't ready to read any further. So I'm going to do the hard work and actually get through it because it sounds, I'm sure it's got a lot of meat in there that I really love actually, Tom.
Yeah, and I think there might be, from now having completed that book, I think it's perfectly okay to jump to other topics, get a bit of an understanding of those, and then move back again to the spot where you got stuck, because you don't have to read it from front to back.
Cool.
It doesn't have to be like that. It's broken up into sections, so you can jump forward. You might find it easier, and I know this is feedback I've had from other people. They found it easier to comprehend the same concept later on in the book, and then go back and check out the start later. So, I don't think you need to do anything before you start. You don't need to be an expert in anything. You don't need to know how to meditate. It's in some ways it's not even related to meditation, but I just don't you don't have to read it chronologically. Just get in there and read it. There's I have another one of his books, which was, do you hear that? I'm deep in the forests of Africa, and that is the call of the white-feathered loon.
Thank goodness you got a call, because otherwise you would have had to make something up at the end of this.
I told you. I said furry friends. In hindsight, I should have said feathered friends.
Yeah.
I do. My son and I own a white dove each, and most of the day they're out, especially if I'm in the office. They sit on my shoulder, they sit on my head, they walk around my desk, they grab. Today I caught one who's grabbing things out of my pen jar and then just throwing them on the ground.
Yeah, right.
Just one after the other. I'm like, all right, cut it out.
Hey, we talked about this actually on the podcast. We discovered that you called one Banjo and I've got a budgie named Banjo. Is that true?
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Yeah,
so
right.
My son named his Banjo, which is I think after a very famous Australian poet. Oh, there we go again. They know we're talking about it. I named my girl Trixie after the hit TV show, the hit cartoon rather. What was the cartoon? Oh, Speed Racer.
Oh, of course.
Speed Racer. His love interest, I think. They're kind of friends, but you can tell like they're pretty keen on each other. Yeah, her name was Trixie.
Yeah.
So yeah, little Trixie and Banjo, they live just 3 meters away from me, and they've been quiet up until now. So yeah, I'm not really out in the forest or anything. And I said to Craig just before we came on air, I can't have them out because they'll just fly around and jump on me and just go crazy, knocking stuff off the desk and everything.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's real wild here. Wild Australia. Anyway, I'll leave that book review there. I was just about to say I've got another one of his books, and from what I'm told, Craig, perhaps I should have bought the other book, because some people have said that it's easy to comprehend what he's saying in another book, which is called, hang on, I think I can see it from here, A New Earth. But I can't comment on that because I haven't even opened that book yet.
Got it, yep.
Anyway, something to think about. A lot of people in these times are turning to references like this to try and get a different perspective, to try and have a different approach on everything, just a different way of thinking. and there's a lot of cool stuff in that.
Yeah, good.
Moving right along, I found this 4-part series about New Zealand wildlife. I found it on YouTube, but you can watch it through their website. And it's called Fight the Wild.
Great.
It is absolutely stunningly shot, fantastic interviews, and you just learn a heck of a lot about the country. If you don't know this, New Zealand has no snakes, no spiders, no centipedes. You can basically go over there and throw a sleeping bag on the ground and put a tarp up, and no dramas, apart from the fact you'll get hypothermia within 30 minutes. That's neither here nor there. Or it depends on your sleeping bag, I guess. But my point is they don't have any they're an island, and it's just this unique.
It's great that they rounded them all up then, isn't it? You know?
They didn't round them up. Are you joking?
Yeah, I'm joking. No, it's good though. It's amazing that you can just have
the whole place is just desert. They just burn the whole place to the ground. So, no, they've it's naturally occurring, unlike Ireland, where they did remove the snakes, I believe.
All right. Yep.
So it goes into. They've got a lot of ground nesting birds, which is very, very, very unusual.
Of course.
Throughout the entire world. And the only reason they've got ground nesting birds is because they don't have predators that we do, say, over here or anywhere else in the world. Especially things like pythons that could just come along and steal all the eggs and chicks or whatever it wanted. Now, the problem is things like stoats have been introduced. A stoat resembles a weasel, a ferret, and they are absolutely lethal. They are so aggressive, and they've got teeth and claws, and they're so skinny they just slide into any burrow, and they're just destroying, just decimating these ground-dwelling birds. You know, the other thing that is doing it is domestic cats that have gone feral. So, I mean, everybody surely knows that domestic cats can kill at a rate beyond small things like lizards, frogs, and birds. They kill at rates beyond anything. Yeah. I got nothing against cats. I just don't like cats in the wild for this reason. So anyway, this 4-part series just goes into the country, the history, the problems they're facing, how they're dealing with those problems, some of the science behind it, some of the sometimes it's just boots on the ground, sometimes it's things like trail cameras, and then they're doing some really cool things where they'll choose an island, a small island, and they'll just go over that and just completely eradicate every introduced species,
all right,
and then let the natural wildlife thrive. And then they've even got a location there where they could put some birds and reintroduce them, and they can never be touched by any of the animals on the mainland. So a lot of things that happen is the ships that frequented all of those areas and would go ashore quite regularly would inevitably leave things like rats, the European rat, everywhere, even on tiny islands. So they've had to eradicate things like that to get a fresh start, because those rats will eat anything, absolutely anything. It's just fascinating, and I think anybody would enjoy that, from our Australian and New Zealand listeners right through to anywhere in the world, because it is. If you don't know, it's where the Lord of the Rings was filmed, so you know what sort of terrain I'm talking about, which is exactly part of the problem. It's so unbelievably difficult to move around that terrain and catch up with these animals. But they're doing some good work.
Well, that sounds cool.
And they are, I don't want to get this wrong, but I probably will. They're doing something like they're going for predator-free by 2050, maybe, or 20. Yeah. Anyway, it sounds like a big goal, but it sounds like they're on the right track as well. I wish them the best of luck.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, cool.
Restoring it to how it was. Yeah, you'll enjoy that, Craig. You should really watch them.
Yeah.
You know where to find them. We had Tom Langhorne on the podcast, and apologies for not having the exact episode here. I might sneakily try and find that while I'm talking. Tom is from Scotland. His YouTube channel, business and everything goes by the name of Fandebi Dorsey. And yeah, we had an absolutely fantastic time talking with Tom. Something that Tom does is he'll hike through the mountains of Scotland, but he'll be dressed in kind of 17th century era clothing, and he'll only carry the sort of things that they carried. He'll only carry the sort of food they carried. He won't take a stove. He won't take a sleeping bag. He'll take a sheepskin or a deer skin, and he'll sleep wrapped up in his wool kilt. Yeah. Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Episode 19. Geez, that was a way back, wasn't it? Episode 19. Really cool episode if you want to revisit that. But Tom's continued to delve deeper and deeper into what he does. And he's, from my understanding, he's doing courses and things like that in wilderness training and survival and everything like that. And he's released a little film, a short film, somewhere around the 30-minute mark, which is a 3-day adventure where he sets off, covering quite a distance, to be honest, and some absolutely spectacular country. Again, he's trotting through this country in his little felt, his wool hat, and his full kilt, and his leather shoes, which, I mean, they're just like a piece of leather laced up around his foot. Amazing, yeah. And he's just entertaining to watch too.
Yeah, and he makes all his own like flasks for carrying his whiskey.
That's right. Yeah. And if he doesn't make it, if it's something that's beyond him, he'll go to somebody who he knows, like a blacksmith that he knows, and he'll get that person to make a very traditional knife that reflects that of the era. He won't just go and buy something off the shelf. So he's got his leather shoes are literally just a piece of leather wrapped up around and laced up.
Yeah, so interesting, eh?
Yeah, it's great. It's a good little film. We watched it, I think, the night before last, because it's only been out about 3 or 4 days.
Right, well, yes. I haven't actually seen anything he's put out for a little while, so I'm off the radar there. So I'm going to, get onto that.
Yeah, catch up on that. Yeah. He touches on a lot of history because he has a deep respect for history, and touches on that a lot in the areas that he's traveling through. But it's good. It's good to see him. As always, he's always entertaining. He's a fun guy to watch. Has a epic accent. I just can't get enough of that. So, yeah, check that out. It'll be in the show notes.
Cool.
The next one. This is a little bit of it is a correction to be honest. I think it was in the last episode I mentioned a short documentary on this guy who photographs fungi, right?
Yeah, and it glows.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it glows in the dark.
Yep.
Now, none of that was wrong. That was all correct. But when I came home and I was putting together the show notes, I remember saying in the podcast, I think it's it's a solid sort of 20, 25 minute documentary.
Right.
And when I got home and I was searching for it, I couldn't find it in my history, so I started Googling it. and I thought I'd found it, and it was 6.5 minutes, and I thought, oh wow, that's I really over exaggerated that, didn't I?
Yeah.
So anyway, I put that in the show notes for last episode. But since then, it actually popped up again in my feed, the original one, and it is closer to that 25 minutes, and it's a full kind of history of how he got into it after his wife passed away from cancer, and then he had a bit of I'd say a near-death medical condition. He just kind of reinvented himself and started photographing fungi, and it goes into a lot more detail than the shorter one that I posted on the last show notes. So if you've been thinking this whole time, man, I jumped on the show notes expecting this 20-minute documentary, and this idiot sold it into me as a 20-minute documentary, and it's only 6 minutes. Well, for one, I wasn't, I got it wrong, but I wasn't exaggerating. I found the original, and I'll post that for you.
Nice.
Absolutely fantastic watch. We have a mutual YouTube channel, Craig, that we enjoy watching. I think you said your kids have watched it before. Scotty's Gone Walkabout.
Oh yeah, watched it a lot. Yep.
You watched it a lot.
Yep,
My kids absolutely love it.
Yep.
They totally froth over it.
Yep.
Well, it wasn't too long ago that he put out a cave camping episode where he basically used this river bed to travel, and along the way he was looking for a little cave to excuse me a little cave to camp in for the night, because he took his gear pretty light. That was a really cool episode.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it. I watched the whole thing. Like he's very good at editing and weaving in the music, and he knows when to leave space, and I think it's just really clever. He does a great job. I'm sure you'd agree with that.
100%.
Yeah. He's a photographer by day, so he knows his way around the camera, which you can tell. It's good stuff.
He does know his way around, but you always feel like you've learned something when you watch it. I think he does that purposefully, but it's really well done. And we learned a little bit about the bush tucker that he enjoys to gather up and stuff. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, he definitely does weave in some knowledge, but it's not over the top. As you say, it's almost in hindsight you realise that you learned something.
Yeah.
But because he's in an area as well that's locked down at the moment, so I think he's been putting in a bit of time from what I've seen on Instagram and YouTube. So he's actually dropped another couple of videos, one of which is, he's done this in the past, but I guess it's a revised version of a gear. He calls it a gear loadout, but it's basically like we did our what's in the pack. It's basically everything that he carries. And as you can imagine, it has evolved since he did it a few years ago. So he's just ripping everything out and explaining what he's currently using, right down to first aid pack, cooking, all that sort of stuff. The hammock he uses, or the tent, the tarp, the sleeping bag. He goes into all in great detail. So, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I was surprised, and I've said this to you before, I think our highest listened to podcast ever is the one about what we carry in our pack, which I find fascinating that we almost weren't going to release it, and we've said that before, because we thought it would put people to sleep. We were falling asleep ourselves trying to do it.
Yeah, totally.
But, I mean, people just have a thirst for knowledge. So you're going to get it if you check out that video of his.
Yeah, he's got a very good setup. Like, his gear is well thought out. And
he spends enough time out there to know what he's doing.
Yeah, I would really. I enjoyed his earlier, as you say, pack dump or whatever you call it. And so if he's got a new one, that'll be good. Yeah,
it is new. It's pretty fresh.
Sweet.
The other one that he's done, which is pretty brand new as well, is he uses a tarp, and he's done a video called 5 Unique Tarp Shelters for Camping and Bushcraft. So, you know that when people kind of string a simple tarp up in different ways to create different shapes. Yeah, but it's kind of like hiking origami of sorts.
Yeah.
And I've done a couple in the past, but I watched this video and picked up another couple that I thought, you know what, that's actually not bad at all. That's pretty cool. There's some really good asymmetrical ones that he does where you end up having a ground sheet, plus it comes back over you, plus it has a little lip at the front to just keep a bit of rain off you, whatever. Plus the beauty of the way he spends time out in the wilderness, if he is under a tarp, he can leave that whole front side up and just watch the campfire while he's going to sleep and get some warmth from it. I mean, there's almost arguably nothing better than that.
Yeah.
So I often do miss that. I remember last time we went hiking, I took a tent, and I remember pitching one side up a bit higher, and then I ended up when I got into bed, I actually pulled one flap back so I could see the fire as I was laying there for a while.
Yeah.
I just think it's just such a great part of being outdoors.
Yeah, that whole tent sleeping thing is so cool. Tarps sleeping thing is so cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
like if you lived in New Zealand.
Yeah, it would be very cool. Just if it wasn't for the mosquitoes up here in Queensland, I'd be a braver person to do that. Yeah. We've done a few sort of, survival things where we haven't taken a tent.
Yeah, we've done all right too. I have to say we've been lucky, but then again, one particular time was in just after winter, so it was very cold.
Yeah, that'd be okay.
And I don't remember getting bothered at all, to be honest.
That's right.
But yeah, like you say, that's a good point. I mean, it's not, people would think, you in Australia you're probably more scared of the, snakes and spiders and centipedes and stuff that I mentioned earlier, scorpions and whatnot. But no, it's actually not that. It's more the irritating. It's more the irritating mosquitoes. That's about it.
The first thing I think of when I look at sleeping out in a tarp. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you have a real smoky fire.
That's it.
Which
right
is,
next to
again,
the
that's
fire.
no fun either.
Yeah.
More hiking. Well, I guess that's what we're about, isn't it? So it's probably good that I've got more hiking videos coming up.
Yep.
Oddbjörn, our friend Oddbjörn.
Excellent.
He's been on, he was just on the Christmas episode, if you caught that. And then he was on, he was close to one. I think didn't we work out that he was our first ever guest?
Yeah, we said that.
Up?
No,
we said that.
Yep, definitely.
100%. Yeah, episode 5. Oddbjörn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He consistently puts out videos of his landscape photography adventures. What's so good about them is it's not all about the shot. It's not all about the photography. And in this 2-part episode, he takes his father with him again, which he has done in the past, and it's absolutely hilarious because his dad's a pretty funny dude. And when they get together and start having some banter, usually it's something to do with things not going quite right, but it's good laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But he shoots beautifully, and again, a little bit like Tom Langhorne, it's hard not to enjoy watching him, even just him speaking.
Yeah.
He's just good value. It's good to watch. He's got a beautiful, gentle demeanor, and he's just brutally honest, and he's just telling it like it is. It's really cool. So that's a 2-part. I'll put 2 videos up for that. Oh, somebody likes the Or to be earned.
You bet.
Yeah, they're really cool, Craig, and obviously, it's in the mountains of Norway.
Right, that sounds great.
So
Always
it is
good.
Norway. I got that right, didn't I?
Yes,
Yeah,
Norway, yeah.
He's Norway, yeah. Yeah, absolutely beautiful, spectacular. I won't spoil any of the things that happen, but yeah, excellent episodes.
Mhm.
And yeah, go check them out. Sit on your couch, check them out. You'll feel like you're there.
Right.
This next one, sorry, mate, what were you going to say?
Just takes the sting out of lockdown. All this stuff.
No, it does. I mean, I think the beauty of this, you know, when you get, say for example, I said, I'm going to go buy a new book today, and then you go to the bookstore and you can't decide what you want to get.
Yep,
Or
yep.
I'm going to watch it. I feel like watching a documentary today. Oh, I can't decide. But when someone says to you, hey, here's a couple of good books you should get next time you're at a bookstore, or here's a good couple of things you should watch, it just takes that, I guess because it's a recommendation, it just takes the difficulty out of deciding. So, well, it is really hard to work with those being upstaged by those doves. And it's so unbelievably loud here for me.
It sounds so cool, mate.
Does
great.
it?
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah.
So I hope that by giving these recommendations, you people at home, even if you're not in lockdown, to be honest, you can just put some of these on the weekend and just have a good watch.
Yeah.
The next one is a television show called Australian Story. You're familiar with that?
Yeah.
Craig?
Yep.
I guess it'll just pick a particular person and then go through their history and how they came to be where they are. Now, I stumbled across this guy. I believe it was in a Facebook group that I'm a part of because I like native bird photography. And so, you just see people putting up photos of these birds that they're photographing. Absolutely stunning photographs. And this particular guy has excellent photographs, but he put up a post and said, I think someone asked him about, how did you get into it or whatever? And he put up, he's been on Australian Story. His name's David Rennie. And when I watched this, I watched the whole thing. It was absolutely fascinating because David was diagnosed as bipolar. And in some ways, it's kind of become his superpower for bird photography. He photographs a particular area in Western Australia, and he's photographed so many birds in so many different, right on cue, in so many different situations that he's actually been of great use to the, to the local kind of wildlife foundations and the people that study that sort of thing and keep a record of that.
Right, yeah.
Because they can tell from his photographs what birds were in what areas, in what numbers. And so he's become a bit of a resource for them. But what I was saying earlier about his diagnosis being his superpower is he has a single-minded approach at times, and then other times, as he puts it, he's away with the fairies. But when he gets that single-minded concentration, he might he grabs his camera and he wears a ghillie suit. You familiar with a ghillie suit?
Yeah.
Basically like a leaf suit sort of thing. He'll grab that and he'll drive out to these areas and he'll just disappear for 3 days.
Right.
He'll just be crawling through the swamps and the grass and laying there for hours.
Which is probably his therapy. I mean,
It's exactly right. That's exactly what he's saying as well, is it's But I think that if he didn't have the condition, he wouldn't be able to concentrate that long. He wouldn't be obsessed. He wouldn't be so obsessed with it that he could just stay until he gets the shot. So it's a fascinating little documentary there, and obviously touches on some things that have happened in his life, but at the same time you see some of his photography as well. And wow, that they're really getting going in here, those birds.
Yep, they are. What
That's
do
going to
you
sound very funny.
What do you think they're saying to you, mate? What's the dove?
I don't. I still haven't kind of worked out what all their cooing's about.
Are they sleeping or are they doing that? Is it just like
no? They're
awake now?
If I left the office and turned all the lights off, they wouldn't make that noise until maybe a couple of times through the night, but they wouldn't make it again till first thing in the morning. But they know I'm here. They can hear me talking.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're around the corner in the dark, but the light's on. So they're thinking, get me out for a fly.
It's just because you're talking about the bird photography, probably.
It is. As soon as I stop talking about that, they're not interested.
Yeah, he's finished. Yeah.
Bo Miles is somebody that we've spoken about before. I've mentioned him in the media mashup before, and actually some of our listeners have written and said, "Oh, it's fantastic." One guy in particular tagged us on his Instagram and said, "Bo, you need to get on this podcast."
All right. Oh wow.
But yeah, he's top guy. He's done a whole bunch of extreme stuff, like paddled around a large chunk of Africa in the ocean, and various other extreme outings, expeditions. But as he says in this particular video, he's concentrating kind of closer to home now that he's got his first child and he's settling down. He's quite happy to go on a small adventure but still have that big adventure kind of feel. And this one's called The Commute, but there's another version of The Commute where he walks to work. But in this particular one, he paddles his kayak to work.
Right.
Yeah, because right out across the road from his place is this creek or this stream, and he basically that in some way or another he can link it right outside where he works. Oh, that's the other type of call those birds make. Did you hear that?
Sounded like he was laughing at you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They call it their laugh.
Oh, right.
That's a different one. So it does sound like a laugh. So anyway, it's usually a 75-minute drive, an hour and 15 minutes if my math is good. But it takes him 4 days to get to work.
Really?
4 days of paddling. Because obviously it's not the way the crow flies, or it's not even the way the road goes. It's the way the creek winds. And so he has to stop overnight for several nights just on the side of the creek and set himself up. And he sleeps pretty rough, to be honest. And he paddles through some pretty rough stuff as well. But he talks a lot about, first of all, he says it's pretty cool to use the water that literally falls off his roof onto the ground. He's going to use that to get to work and reduce his carbon footprint on that particular 4 days.
Yeah, for sure.
But he also, as he travels through the river, it's a river that he grew up on. He kind of comments a lot on the introduced kind of plant life and that sort of thing that he encounters, and the shape that system's in. And then as he gets closer to, civilization, there's a lot of introduction of weeds and stuff like that. And so it's quite sad in parts, to see this pristine stream later on, is not that pristine. But it's a fantastic watch. Great little, I don't know what you'd call it. It's a short film, but in some aspects it's somewhat of a documentary, short documentary.
Very interesting. So he's that Aussie guy, right? I'm not mixing him up.
Yeah, no, he's Australian. He's from Melbourne.
Yeah, he did the one about following that train line, that very old train
exactly
line.
Right.
Yeah, that was so
Run
good.
the line. That was cool.
Oh, that was awesome.
A lot of these, I'm glad you touched on that. A lot of these videos that I'm recommending, I'm not just recommending them for these precise videos that I'm going to be listing, but I guarantee you, once you watch, for example, Fandabby Dozy, or if you watch one of the Scotty's Gone Walkabout, or if you watch one of Odd Björn's, if you watch one of Bo Miles's videos, all of a sudden I haven't just given you the gift of that one 20-minute video. I've given you the gift of the whole back catalogue of tons and tons of awesome adventures. Yeah, so that's exactly right, mate. You're going to be able to lose yourself through all of their other videos, which is awesome.
Great work.
Here's one in a completely different realm. Well, to anything I've spoken about tonight.
Okay.
I found this particularly interesting, confronting, perhaps scary, and it's no surprise it's got to do with bears again. We talked about bears on the last podcast, and so coincidentally this has popped up in the meantime. And we talk about how how Craig and I are not really afraid of anything when we're out hiking in the Australian wilderness, except for other humans, really. And we talked about bears and how good it is that we don't get eaten by bears when we're sleeping. But this particular guy, Clay Newcomb, some people may be familiar with him. He has his own podcast, and he's part of the Meat Eater team, if anyone's familiar with those guys.
All right.
What he does is he's trying to ascertain whether a pistol, so a gun, a handgun, or bear spray is the best for defending yourself against a bear. He starts off by interviewing this guy called Todd Orr. I think that's how you pronounce it, O-R-R. We've spoken about him, I'm sure, years ago on the podcast, because when he got attacked by this bear.
Yeah. And
it was absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
Horrific. That not so much the fact that he got attacked, but he retells the story in this really well again, and it made me cringe again, because he says things like, this bear was attacking me and I'm trying not to react, because that obviously the bear's trying to remove a threat. That's all it's doing. It's trying to remove a threat. It's scared of you. So it's attacked this guy, and he let out a bit of a sound, like he bit him, and he went, ah. And the second that he did that, he said it just went into a frenzy. Like, it went absolutely twice as mental, because it realized there was still life in him. And he goes on, and it attacks him twice. It's horrible. I mean, the good thing is he survived, and that's fantastic. But that's basically the start of the whole thing. And so Clay is asking this guy, did you have bear spray? Did you have a gun? Like, what's the best? And he basically says, but the time you think that bears would be really noisy he said, but by the time they're on you and you turn around, it's game over. He said, I don't care if you what gun you had or whatever, you don't have time. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to comprehend. So what he does from there is he goes and does this tactical pistol training, like the proper stuff, proper pistol training to get his speed, his draw speed, and reaction times down. So he does all of that. And then he goes and does bear spray training course to, they have canister exactly the same as what you would use, but they remove the capsicum spray, the capsicum element from it. So the kind of chili element, if you want to call it that. Mm-hmm. So it no longer burns. It's just an expulsion of gas. So he can train with that safely. And so he goes through this whole training course. And then at the end, they have this reenactment. Not a reenactment, that's not really a good word for it. It's basically trying to make the training as realistic as possible. So they have this little remote control buggy thing, and they have a full cutout of a bear on it. And this thing's screaming towards you at the speed a bear would. And then when it gets to a particular distance away, the trainer yells out bear. So you don't know exactly where it's coming from, whether it's directly behind you or off to the left or off to the right. Because obviously you wouldn't in a real case either. Mm-hmm. So they just yell bear as if your friend has just yelled out bear. And you spin around and you have to take the canister out of your belt or out of your, the front of your pack, take the pin out and spray it all in like a second. And man, when you see how fast this thing moves on him, and he even says like, oh, I'm freaking out and I know it's not a bear.
Yeah, right.
I'm getting scared and I know it's not a bear. I'm getting nervous and I know it's not a bear. He says the other thing is, I know you're going to say it at some point. I'm not sitting here relaxing, having a conversation.
Yeah.
You didn't catch me off guard. I'm actively waiting.
Prepared in some way, yeah.
I'm prepared. I'm waiting. I know where my canister is. I know you're going to say it. And then all of a sudden you say it and he still gets it wrong, So I think there's, it kind of makes the whole thing a bit more crazy. Yeah, it's worth watching. I mean, I'm sure that if that's something you have had to deal with, do have to deal with, or you're hiking in areas of the world where bears are around, I do think you'll pick something up out of that. I'd find it hard to believe you wouldn't pick something up out of that. And I mean, I don't care if you're pro pistols, anti pistols, whatever. It's a defense. This is all about defense, and as I said, even just using the bear spray, and knowing also there's only a certain distance that you can use it at. And I've heard this before that people have had a bear charge them, and they've just expelled the entire contents of the can before the bears even got within range of it. And then the clouds just dissipated and then the bear's still coming.
Oh, no.
Because they've peaked too early. So, that's, you got to watch out for that. It's interesting anyway. It's worth watching.
Oh, wow. That sounds scary.
No, it's good. But they put it together fantastically. Like it's a good little 20-minute
good watch.
documentary.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, the last one I'm going to leave you with here is something that I wasn't going to put it in, but I did recently rewatch this, and it just really resonated with me again as much as it did. Must have been 10 years ago I watched this the first time. Some of the listeners will be familiar with this, and if you're not, I guess I'm speaking to the potentially the younger crowd here, but also I think people that just don't delve as deeply into the YouTube as I do. Craig, I may have given you this. I may have given you a copy of this years ago when I gave you a whole bunch of kind of outdoor videos and stuff.
Mm-hmm. What is it?
But it's that Dick Prenicky, I think is his surname's pronounced. And it's this particular short documentary is called One Man's Alaska. He's the guy who, for 20 years, he was a diesel mechanic in a place called Kodiak, which is pretty brutal part of the world. But up in that area. And after that, he just decided, I just don't want to be around civilization. Like, that's not how I want to live my life anymore. So he ends up in this place called Twin Lakes, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. And he builds this cabin by hand, by himself. And he canoes to this place with all his tools and everything, just picks a nice spot, says, I think that's where I want my cabin, and just builds this cabin. The engineering of it is fantastic. He builds a little, like a refrigerator underground, because it's freezing cold up there. He digs down and then lines it with timber and stuff like that and puts a good lid on it and everything. And basically he uses that as a refrigerator
Cool.
and freezer, actually, to be honest, because it is that cold up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does. It's just fantastic, and his life up there is. I mean, I guess it is rough and rugged, but it's simple. It's so unbelievably simple.
I think I've seen that. It's a full off-grid sort of scenario, isn't it, where he's
100%.
got no, very little even communications and stuff. Is that right?
Absolutely. He's got zero.
Yep.
Yeah. He has to, like, even if he wants to, it takes him days to paddle. My understanding is a couple of days to paddle to, or at least a full day to paddle back to civilization, only if the lake is still and the wind's not against him, or else he can't do it.
Yeah, no, that's a good watch.
So yeah, you can't just jump if you're feeling sick or you've broken your leg. You don't just jump in and paddle for 20 minutes. Like, it was very remote. So yeah, it popped up again on my radar, and I watched it again and was just as fascinated the second time. I think there's a longing for stuff like that. I think especially in recent times. I mean, it's no surprise, but it's also well documented that the shift to that tree change has been significant in the last 18 months. It's well documented that people are moving out of cities into the country at a staggering rate, more than it's ever been. And I think everybody's realised that that's where you need to be. I mean, of course, it's not for everybody, and you can't do it to his level. But nevertheless, it's a fun watch. It's a fascinating watch. And that's, like I said, that's around about a 35-minute documentary from memory. But there's actually a couple of films that he's made. This one is somebody else doing a film about him, but he has actually made entire films about himself living out there. And he does the voiceover and everything. And yeah, he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy too. He's just tough as nails.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's tops. Excellent. Mate, it's that time where the quiz needs to be answered. I've remembered.
Have we got to the end of the media?
Yeah, we got to the end. We did it. I don't think I missed a thing.
Oh, that's all good stuff. Well. Great stuff.
Yeah, we made it.
Jeez, I'm going to just...
And everybody listening who's still here, you made it as well. Oh, look at that. Right on cue. I've only got water here.
There we go.
But I deliberately did not brew a coffee tonight because normally at your place we finish late and then I drive home and I want to be awake.
Yeah, you want to go to bed.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I've only got a 10-meter walk and I'm done and dusted. Before that, though, before I forget, the question was, how much larger is the USA than Australia? The answer is in square kilometers or square miles, whichever you prefer. Craig, do you want to have a guess at that? It's a pretty, it's a hard question, I'll admit.
Okay, so USA, so it doesn't, not including Canada. Just the USA.
You could even say, if you want to use a percentage as well, that's fine by me. Whatever suits you.
So I reckon you could fit 1.5 Australias in there.
1.5 Australias into the USA. Well, I'm glad you said that.
Because very wrong.
That's right. Well, it just proves, the misconception, and I guarantee that all of our listeners from around the world would have it as vastly incorrect as that.
They're more similar, aren't they?
The answer, my friends, is a mere 7.6 square kilometers.
What?
That is 2.9 square miles. So basically, tiny bit of fake Florida that they've put in some fake dirt and made an extra bit of land is the difference between our country and their country. So remember I said I wanted people to learn a bit about Australia? Well,
yeah.
People might have either thought that we were absolutely enormous or that it was this tiny little island the size of, say, New Zealand or something.
So the land area, the actual...
The land area...
is the same, pretty much.
It is a difference of 3 square miles.
That's amazing.
8 square kilometers, which is absolutely nothing. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy.
Oh, that's a bit of trivia. If it's that close, that maybe we should just have learnt that. I mean, that's a good way to sort of put that in perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, basically, for argument's sake, you just say they're exactly the same.
Wow.
I'm sure on a low tide we get that 3 square miles back.
And they've got 50. How many states? 52 used to be.
52?
Used to be 52.
Or have they changed that,
I think there's more now. But and we've got 7, I think.
I believe so.
3, 4.
Are you counting a territory as a state?
Yeah, territories and Tassie. So yeah, we've got very few compared to them. But
yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And when you compare it like that, we've just split it up. We're just kind of like, it's kind of like a giant pizza or something. Oh yeah, we'll just cut it up pretty evenly. And 7 slices? That's good for me. Everybody happy?
Mm-hmm. And then if you want to go population, it'd be another crazy comparison.
I'm sure it would be.
We've got,
and
we've only got 28 million, 29 million or something like that people.
And the other thing that's perhaps unique is our states don't differ that much at all in laws and restrictions and things like that. Like you don't walk into another state and all of a sudden, you're allowed to, drive twice as fast or whatever it might be. Like nothing really changes. It keeps it pretty simple.
It's quite complicated in the States, perhaps.
Yeah, I do believe so.
Moving jurisdictions. Oh, that's interesting. Thanks for that, Tom.
No worries, mate. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. I do hope that you got a ton of reading and watching information out of this episode. That was the whole purpose of it.
No doubt.
Yep, it is the lockdown episode, and it doesn't matter where you are. Australia we're not doing too bad in comparison to a lot of places. We're just doing it as a precaution. I won't, bore you with that, but it doesn't matter where you are. I know it's happening around the world. So if you're stuck indoors for any other reason, maybe you just got the common cold and you're stuck at home for a few days, there's going to be some good watching in there for you, I can tell you that. All good?
All good, mate. Thanks so much for sharing.
No worries, mate. I'll talk to you soon. I guess I'll talk to the rest of you crew soon too. Craig and I are going to do a bit of a sprint to the finish line at the end of the year, so get ready to hear from us. Quickly, thank you to everyone supporting us on Ko-fi.com as well. I forgot to mention that earlier. I'm extremely grateful, and every little bit helps. Really appreciate it. On that note, thanks guys. Take it easy, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you later.
See ya. If you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, we'd really appreciate your ratings and comments if you can spare the time. If you'd like to know more about HikeordieTV and keep track of our adventures around Australia, make sure you drop by HikeordieTV.com. That's where you'll find all the information you'll need to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or Pinterest. As always, we appreciate your support. Thanks for listening.